The information technology revolution has brought conflict and human rights violations into people's homes.
We know what happens in Syria, we know what happens in Ivory Coast, we know what happens in Sudan, in Afghanistan. That makes it incumbent on us to take responsibility when that moral red line is crossed. Crisis Action exists to compel the world's most powerful people to take action to protect civilians in conflict.
We work around the world to amplify the voice of those that are voiceless.
In essence, to get those who have power to protect those who don't.
Crisis Action protects the powerless by uniting broad coalitions of disparate organizations behind global campaigns.
The scale of the challenges that we're trying to solve are huge, and NGOs, civil society organisations, no matter how brilliant and powerful they are, they're going to be better if they speak with one voice. They're going to be more effective on the governments they seek to influence.
The humanitarian groups, the human rights groups, the refugee groups, the conflict groups.
Grassroots organisations, faith leaders, celebrities.
We tend to all do our own thing and do it well, but it's really difficult to come together. With a little nudge from Crisis Action and a lot of support, we can be stronger than our individual voices.
The problem Crisis Action was created to solve is very simple. How to get this set of organizations to agree to the same message and to the same campaign.
We have what's called opt-in coalitions, which means that we will, in consultation with our partners, come up with an advocacy strategy. We won't seek consensus. We won't water down those recommendations.
We say to people, are you in or are you out? It's up to you. And what that means is those who opt in are able to really, really devote themselves to a strong position with ambitious targets.
In 2010, Crisis Action helped produce this video to protect civilians in Sudan from bloody civil conflicts. It was part of a much broader strategy that reaped an early success.
The international community got the message. They did manage to secure a peaceful referendum and a peaceful acceptance of the results of the referendum, which is the independence of South Sudan.
You can see him.
But after the South won its independence in 2011, the government in the North launched attacks on civilians inside its own borders, who'd once been allied with the South Sudanese. Villages were being bombed. Soldiers were carrying out mass executions.
It's a state bombing its own civilians.
But with no reporters allowed in, little evidence of what was happening was reaching the outside world. Working with a global alliance of partners, Crisis Action helped bring an Episcopal bishop from the war zone to UN headquarters to bear witness.
Many people have been killed. They're calling people from house to house. The situation is getting worse. And the planes are bombing people everywhere. Civilians have died, children, women. We consider this is ethnic cleansing.
Crisis Action also targeted a meeting of the African Union in Addis Ababa.
We were able to bring together over 140 NGOs from North and South Sudan in the region, and we were able to help senior faith leaders from Sudan come together, get to Addis, and talk to ambassadors from the African Union directly. And what we saw happen was, a visible change in these powerful politicians who are used to negotiating treaties, but when they hear directly from these faith leaders whose communities were being devastated, it really made them sit up and think. These individuals were able to really impact policy, and just a matter of days later, the African Union recalled North and South Sudan to consult with them on how to negotiate a humanitarian ceasefire.
I think Crisis Action has done a remarkable job of using their methodology to make an impact on the crisis situations they've been engaged in.
The international community is now, thanks to this contribution, more attentive to what is happening in conflict-affected areas than ever before.
Though it seeks as much publicity as possible for its campaigns and partners, Crisis Action keeps its own role quiet.
Crisis Action deliberately works behind the scenes to multiply the work of others.
This is actually one of the only videos you'll ever see about crisis action, because it's really important that we don't get credit actually publicly for the work that happens.
There are tens, maybe hundreds of conflicts in the world, depends how you count them. You can't tackle everything, you have to focus. And they're very good at it. And it's impressive what a really small team can achieve by having the right collaborative spirit.